The deck gun is a type of naval artillery mounted on the deck of a submarine. Most submarine deck guns were open, with or without a shield. Each boat had one in front of the conning tower, and with a well-trained crew they could fire 15 to 20 rounds per minute. The main deck gun was a dual-purpose weapon used to sink merchant shipping or shell shore targets, or defend the submarine on the surface from enemy warships. Typically, a crew of 3 operated the gun, while other crew members were tasked with supplying the ammunition. In the early part of World War II, German submarine commanders favored the deck gun for similar reasons as their World War I counterparts: the limited number of torpedoes that could be carried, the unreliability of torpedoes, and because their boats could only travel submerged at slow speed for short distances. German U-boats used 2 notable deck guns in World War II: the 8.8 cm SK-35 and the 10.5 cm SK-32. The 8.8 cm gun had ammunition that weighed about 14 kilograms and was of the projectile and cartridge type. It had the same controls on both sides of the gun, so that the crewmen that were in charge of firing could control the gun from either side. The 10.5 cm evolved from the 88 mm in the sense that it was more accurate and had more power due to the 23 kg ammunition it fired. Deck guns were often used near the American coast in early 1942. The U-boats which operated here were the Type 9B ones, and thus they had the larger 10.5 cm version of the gun. Sometimes these deck guns were used to shell shore-based targets, like in the Caribbean, where they fired at various installations like oil storages and alike, or in the Northern Sea, where they damaged some radio stations. The barrels were protected by a waterproof plug that had to be removed before firing. The breeches were gas-tight for firing, and so were watertight as well. The metal was protected by the same paint that protected the hull of the sub, and of course everything that might freeze up due to rust was liberally lubricated and frequently inspected. Early in the war, the German U-boats would often surface and fire on merchant ships with their deck guns, giving the sailors the option of disembarking into lifeboats before they sank the ship. So in the second part of the war, the deck guns became less effective as convoys became larger and better equipped, and merchant ships were armed. Surfacing also became dangerous in the vicinity of a convoy because of improvements in radar and direction finding. German U-boat deck guns were eventually removed on the order of the Supreme Commander of the U-boat arm during World War II, and those deck guns that remained were no longer manned.